Good morning, everyone. Today, I want to share a simple yet powerful truth. The more available you are, the less you are valued. Think about it. When something is rare, it becomes more desirable. When someone is always there, their presence is often taken for granted. Many of us strive to be liked, to be present, to always say yes. But in doing so, we often lower our own worth. The key to increasing your value is understanding when to step back, when to say no, and when to let people feel your absence. Because only when you are missing will people realize your true worth. Here's how you can raise your value and make people appreciate you more. One of the greatest strategies for increasing your value is learning the power of absence. Have you ever noticed how much more you appreciate something once it's gone? It's a natural human tendency. We tend to overlook what is constantly available to us, but crave what we cannot easily access. This principle applies to relationships, friendships, careers, and even personal branding. When you make yourself too available, people unconsciously take you for granted. They assume you will always be there, responding to every call, fulfilling every request, and saying yes to everything. While this might seem like a way to maintain relationships and opportunities, it can often lead to the opposite effect. Your presence becomes ordinary, predictable, and less valued. However, when you step back strategically, something interesting happens. People begin to notice your absence. They start to realize your contributions, your energy, and the unique value you bring. This doesn't mean playing mind games or intentionally ignoring people just to get their attention. Instead, it's about recognizing when to engage and when to retreat. If you're always available at a moment's notice, people won't feel the need to put in effort to keep you around. But when you create a bit of space, it forces them to reflect on what you bring to the table. Think about successful brands. Luxury products like Rolex or Ferrari don't flood the market. Their scarcity makes them more desirable. The same concept applies to people. When you are selective with your presence, you automatically increase your perceived value. Instead of chasing attention, let attention come to you by making your presence something that is earned, not expected. In both personal and professional settings, applying the power of absence can work wonders. In relationships, taking time apart allows emotions to reset and appreciation to grow. In business, not always being instantly available can make clients or colleagues respect your time more. Even in social media, posting less frequently can create more anticipation and engagement when you do share something. Absence creates a void, and in that void, people gain perspective. They remember your kindness, your wisdom, your impact, and when you do return, you're met with renewed appreciation and a higher level of respect. Your time is one of the most valuable assets you possess. Unlike money, which can be earned, saved, and multiplied, time is irreplaceable. Once it is spent, you can never get it back. Yet many people treat their time carelessly, giving it away too freely to those who do not truly value it. To raise your worth and command respect, you must become more intentional about where, how, and with whom you invest your time. Being selective with your time means understanding that not everyone deserves unlimited access to you. It requires you to evaluate your relationships, commitments, and daily interactions to determine whether they are adding to your life or draining you. Many people feel obligated to be constantly available, afraid that saying no will make them appear rude, selfish, or unkind. But in reality, always saying yes leads to burnout, resentment, and a diminished sense of self-worth. Consider this. When you freely give away your time to everyone who demands it, you spread yourself too thin. You may find yourself exhausted, constantly attending to the needs of others while neglecting your own goals, ambitions, and personal well-being. This can lead to frustration because the more you give without boundaries, the more people expect from you. And paradoxically, the easier it is to access your time, the less it is appreciated. On the other hand, when you are selective with your time, people begin to recognize its value. When they know that your time is not easily given, they start to respect it more. Think of highly successful individuals, leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. They don't allow just anyone to monopolize their time. They understand the power of focus and intentionality. They allocate their time to what truly matters: growth, meaningful relationships, and high-value opportunities. Being selective with your time also means learning to distinguish between genuine connections and one-sided relationships. Some people only reach out when they need something, yet they are never present when you need support. Others drain your energy with negativity, complaints, or unproductive conversations. By setting boundaries, you protect yourself from these energy-draining interactions and make room for people who uplift, inspire, and support you. In professional settings, valuing your time can translate into increased respect and opportunities. When you make it clear that your time is valuable, whether by not overcommitting, setting clear working hours, or prioritizing tasks that align with your long-term goals, people will be more mindful of how they interact with you. You will no longer be seen as someone who is always available, but rather as someone who commands respect and operates with purpose. The key is to shift your mindset. Rather than giving your time freely to everyone, start viewing it as a currency that should be invested wisely. Choose to spend it on activities and people that bring fulfillment, growth, and happiness. When you start treating your time as precious, others will follow suit, and you will find yourself in a position of higher value and deeper self-respect. If you want to raise your value and make people truly appreciate your presence, the most important investment you can make is in yourself. Too often, people seek validation and worth from external sources, friends, relationships, careers, without realizing that their true value comes from within. The world treats you based on how you present yourself, and the best way to increase your worth is to constantly work on becoming the best version of yourself. Self-improvement is not just about acquiring skills or knowledge, it's about evolving in all aspects of life, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It means being intentional about your growth and refusing to remain stagnant. If you are always available to others, but fail to invest time in your own development, you risk becoming a person who gives everything to others, but has nothing left for yourself. The truth is, people respect and admire those who are constantly growing because growth signifies value. One of the key aspects of self-improvement is continuous learning. The more knowledge and skills you acquire, the more you bring to the table in any situation. Whether it's reading books, taking courses, or developing expertise in your field, increasing your knowledge makes you a more valuable individual. It sets you apart, making people seek your advice, opinions, and insights. Instead of being just another person in the crowd, you become someone who commands respect because of what you know and what you can offer. Beyond intellectual growth, self-improvement also involves emotional intelligence and self-awareness. Many people struggle with insecurities, doubt, and the need for external validation. However, the more you work on understanding yourself, your strengths, weaknesses, and emotions, the more confidence you exude. Confidence naturally raises your value because it signals that you are secure in yourself and do not rely on others to define your worth. When you carry yourself with confidence, people treat you differently. They respect you, listen to you, and value your presence. Physical self-improvement also plays a role in how others perceive and treat you. This doesn't mean conforming to superficial beauty standards, but rather taking care of your health, posture, and overall appearance. When you prioritize your well-being through exercise, healthy habits, and self-care, you radiate a sense of discipline and self-respect. People are naturally drawn to those who take care of themselves because it signals that you value yourself enough to invest in your well-being. Another crucial aspect of self-improvement is developing strong boundaries and self-discipline. Many people struggle with setting boundaries, which often leads to them being taken for granted. However, when you prioritize yourself, you learn to say no to things that do not align with your goals or well-being. You stop overcommitting, stop tolerating toxic relationships, and stop wasting time on meaningless activities. The ability to say no and protect your time is a sign of self-respect. And when people see that you value yourself, they begin to value you more as well. Perhaps the most powerful result of self-improvement is that it shifts your focus from seeking external validation to internal fulfillment. When you invest in yourself, you no longer feel the need to chase people's approval or constantly prove your worth. Instead, you become a person who naturally attracts admiration, respect, and opportunities. People start to take notice, not because you are demanding their attention, but because you have become someone worth noticing. The journey of self-improvement is never ending, and that is what makes it so powerful. Every day that you choose to grow, to learn, to evolve, you are increasing your value. You are setting yourself apart from the ordinary, and in doing so, you ensure that when people think of you, they think of someone extraordinary, someone they do not want to lose. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships, friendships, careers, and even personal growth is the habit of chasing people, opportunities, approval, and validation. When you chase something, you send a subconscious message that you lack it, that you are in need, and that you are willing to lower your standards to obtain it. But the truth is, the more you chase, the less valuable you appear. Think about it. When someone is too eager, too available, or too desperate for attention, people instinctively pull away. Whether in friendships, dating, or business, excessive pursuit can make you seem replaceable. Instead of drawing people closer, it often pushes them away. This is because humans naturally value what seems rare, selective, and difficult to obtain. We are wired to be intrigued by things that are not immediately accessible. The key to raising your value is shifting your focus from chasing to attracting. Attraction is not about begging for attention or proving your worth. It is about becoming a person who naturally draws others in. When you improve yourself, set boundaries, and carry yourself with confidence, people gravitate toward you. You no longer have to plead for recognition or force connections. They come to you because they recognize your value. This principle applies to all areas of life. In relationships, chasing often leads to imbalance. One person investing far more effort than the other. If you constantly reach out, constantly give without receiving, or constantly seek validation from someone who does not reciprocate, you lower your worth in their eyes. Instead, when you step back, focus on yourself, and stop overextending, you allow the other person to realize your absence. You create a space where they must decide whether they truly value you enough to put in effort. And if they don't, that's your answer. They were never truly meant for you in the first place. In business and career settings, the same logic applies. Professionals who constantly beg for opportunities, discounts their work, or underestimate their worth, often struggle to command respect. However, when you develop your skills, carry yourself with confidence, and maintain high standards, you naturally attract better opportunities. People will seek you out knowing that you have something valuable to offer. Instead of running after job offers, clients, or promotions, you become someone that organizations and individuals want to work with. Social dynamics follow a similar pattern. Have you ever noticed that the most admired individuals are not necessarily the ones who try the hardest to be liked? Instead, they are often the ones who are self-assured, who do their own thing, and who do not desperately seek validation. Their presence is compelling because they are comfortable in their own skin. They are not seeking approval, which ironically makes people respect and appreciate them even more. The shift from chasing to attracting requires a change in mindset. Instead of constantly wondering, how can I make people like me? How can I get them to notice me? Start asking, how can I improve myself so that people naturally value me? How can I build a life that is fulfilling, with or without outside validation? When you stop seeking validation from others and start working on becoming a stronger, wiser, and more self-sufficient person, you naturally command respect. Another important aspect of attraction is energy. People are drawn to positive, confident, and self-assured energy. If you walk into a room exuding insecurity and neediness, people sense it. But when you carry yourself with certainty, when you know your worth and do not feel the need to beg for attention, you radiate a magnetic presence. This is why the most confident, self-fulfilled people often have the most influence. They do not chase others. Others come to them. So, stop overextending for people who do not appreciate you. Stop lowering your standards to fit into places that do not recognize your worth. Instead, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Someone who naturally attracts high-quality relationships, meaningful opportunities, and genuine respect. When you shift from chasing to attracting, you stop wasting energy on people and situations that do not serve you, and instead, you allow the right things to flow into your life effortlessly. Predictability is one of the fastest ways to become undervalued and overlooked. When people know exactly what to expect from you at all times, When you are always available, always saying yes, always doing the same things, they begin to take you for granted. Familiarity, while comforting, can also lead to complacency. If you want to raise your value and keep people intrigued, you must introduce an element of unpredictability into your life. Being unpredictable does not mean being unreliable or erratic. It means breaking patterns that make you too easy to read. It means keeping people on their toes, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that maintains excitement, mystery, and a sense of curiosity about you. When people cannot fully predict your next move, they are more likely to pay attention to you. They wonder about you, think about you, and value your presence more when they have to work to understand you. Understand. In relationships, unpredictability keeps things exciting. Many relationships lose their spark because both people become too accustomed to routines. When every conversation, every interaction, and every gesture is predictable, interest fades. However, when you add spontaneity, whether it's surprising someone with a thoughtful gesture, changing up your routine, or taking time away to focus on yourself, you create a sense of excitement and curiosity. People naturally value what feels fresh, dynamic, and slightly uncertain. The same principle applies to friendships. If you are always the one reaching out, always available, and always following the same social patterns, people might start to expect your presence without truly appreciating it. However, when you occasionally withdraw, take time for yourself, or change your approach, it forces others to reflect on your absence. They begin to wonder what you are up to, why you are not immediately accessible, and whether they should put in more effort to maintain the connection. In professional settings, unpredictability can be a powerful tool for standing out. If you operate exactly as expected, always agreeing, never challenging the status quo, and following the same conventional methods, you become just another face in the crowd. However, when you bring fresh ideas, challenge norms, and introduce innovative solutions, you gain attention and respect. People remember those who bring something different to the table. The best leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries understand the power of unpredictability. They keep others engaged by constantly evolving and presenting new perspectives. Being unpredictable also applies to personal growth. If you want to raise your value, you must continuously evolve. Stagnation leads to predictability, and predictability leads to being overlooked. But when you constantly improve yourself, learning new skills, exploring different interests, or pushing beyond your comfort zone, you become a person of intrigue. People admire those who are in a state of growth because growth makes you compelling. Unpredictability also ties into emotional control. If people always know exactly how you will react, they can manipulate or take advantage of you. But when you maintain a sense of emotional unpredictability, not in a volatile way, but in a composed and strategic way, you hold power. If someone expects you to always react with frustration, but instead you remain calm and indifferent, you shift the dynamic. If they assume you will always be available, but instead you occasionally take time away, they realize they cannot take you for granted. Ultimately, being unpredictable makes people more conscious of your presence. It prevents you from becoming just another routine part of their lives. By introducing subtle changes, setting boundaries, and continuously evolving, you keep people engaged and ensure that your value remains high. When people cannot fully anticipate your next move, they pay more attention, and that attention translates to respect and appreciation. One of the most fundamental truths about life is this: people will only respect you as much as you respect yourself. If you do not set high standards for how you are treated, others will assume that you accept being undervalued, disrespected, or taken for granted. The way you carry yourself, the way you allow others to treat you, and the boundaries you set all communicate your level of self-respect. Respecting yourself first means refusing to tolerate behavior that diminishes your worth. It means walking away from situations, people, and environments that do not align with your value. Too often, people allow themselves to be mistreated, whether in friendships, relationships, workplaces, or social circles, simply because they fear losing connections or opportunities. But when you accept disrespect, you are essentially giving permission for it to continue. Think about the most respected individuals in any field. They are not the ones who constantly seek approval, overextend themselves, or let people walk all over them. They are the ones who set clear expectations, stand firm in their values, and do not compromise their dignity just to please others. These individuals command respect because they first respect themselves. Self-respect starts with setting boundaries, the invisible lines that define what is acceptable and what is not in your life. Without boundaries, people will assume they can take advantage of your kindness, time, and energy without consequences. If you always say yes to every request, if you allow people to speak to you disrespectfully without addressing it, or if you stay in toxic relationships out of fear, you are teaching others that your needs and emotions are secondary. However, when you firmly say no when necessary, refuse to tolerate mistreatment, and prioritize your well-being, people begin to recognize your worth. A crucial part of self-respect is how you speak to yourself. Many people sabotage their self-worth by engaging in negative self-talk, doubting their abilities, downplaying their achievements, or constantly criticizing themselves. If you do not respect yourself internally, it will reflect externally in your actions and interactions. Speak to yourself with kindness and confidence. Acknowledge your strengths and achievements. When you see yourself as worthy, others will start to see you that way too. Self-respect also involves choosing quality over quantity in your relationships. It is better to have a few genuine, respectful connections than to surround yourself with people who drain your energy or treat you as an afterthought. Stop chasing after people who do not make an effort to stay in your life. Respect yourself enough to walk away from those who make you feel unimportant or undervalued. When you hold yourself to higher standards, you naturally attract people who align with that level of respect. In professional settings, self-respect plays a critical role in how you are perceived. If you constantly undervalue your work, accept low pay, or hesitate to assert your ideas, others will not take you seriously. However, when you confidently state your worth, negotiate what you deserve, and stand firm in your expertise, people recognize that you are not easily replaced. Self-respect in your career leads to better opportunities, promotions, and higher credibility. Another key element of self-respect is how you spend your time and energy. If you consistently prioritize others while neglecting your own needs, you are telling yourself that your well-being is not important. But when you take care of yourself, whether through self-care, personal growth, or simply taking breaks when needed, you reinforce the idea that you are valuable. People notice when someone carries themselves with self-assurance and self-care, and they respond accordingly. Self-respect does not mean arrogance or selfishness. It means recognizing that you deserve to be treated well by yourself and by others. When you respect yourself, you naturally raise your value in the eyes of those around you. People will be more mindful of how they treat you, and those who do not respect you will naturally fade away. By setting the tone for how you expect to be treated, you ensure that you are not just an option in someone's life, you are a priority. Your standards determine the quality of your life. They influence your relationships, career, self-worth, and overall happiness. If you accept mediocrity, whether in the way people treat you, the opportunities you pursue, or the expectations you set for yourself, you will always receive less than you deserve. However, when you elevate your standards, you send a clear message to the world. I know my worth, and I will not settle for anything less than what aligns with it. Elevating your standards means demanding more from yourself and others. It is about refusing to tolerate situations that drain your energy, relationships that bring more harm than good, and environments that do not foster your growth. Many people stay stuck in unsatisfying circumstances simply because they fear change or believe that they do not deserve better. But the truth is, you set the tone for what you will accept in life. The moment you decide to raise your standards, everything begins to shift. One of the first areas where you should elevate your standards is self-discipline. If you do not hold yourself to high standards, you cannot expect the world to do it for you. This means developing strong habits, staying consistent with your goals, and committing to self-improvement. If you settle for laziness, procrastination, and a lack of effort, you will receive mediocre results. However, if you hold yourself accountable, push yourself beyond comfort, and strive for excellence in all that you do, your life will reflect those elevated standards. In relationships, elevating your standards means choosing quality over convenience. Too often, people accept half-hearted love, one-sided friendships, and inconsistent behavior simply because they do not believe they can find better. They make excuses for mistreatment, tolerate disrespect, or settle for less than they deserve. But when you raise your standards, you stop allowing people to have access to you without effort. You stop making excuses for toxic relationships and instead seek connections that bring mutual respect, love, and support. A person with high standards does not beg for attention, chase after people who do not reciprocate, or tolerate behavior that undermines their worth. They understand that it is better to be alone than to be surrounded by people who do not align with their values. And because they refuse to settle, they naturally attract people who respect and appreciate them at a higher level. Elevating your standards also applies to your career and ambitions. If you accept low-paid jobs, undervalue your skills, or fail to demand recognition for your work, you will remain in the same stagnant position. But when you hold yourself to higher standards, whether by improving your skills, seeking out better opportunities, or refusing to accept less than what you are worth, you create a new reality for yourself. Successful people do not settle for just any job or paycheck. They set goals, refine their craft, and position themselves for greater success. Financially, raising your standards means being mindful of how you manage your resources. People with high standards do not recklessly spend money, engage in financial habits that keep them stuck in a cycle of debt, or rely on others to take care of them. Instead, they educate themselves on wealth building, set clear financial goals, and develop the discipline to create long-term financial security. Your health and well-being are another area where elevated standards are essential. When you prioritize your physical and mental health, you show your self-respect. If you accept a lifestyle of poor nutrition, lack of exercise, and neglecting your well-being, it will reflect in your energy, confidence, and overall happiness. But when you make a conscious effort to take care of yourself, eating well, exercising, getting enough rest, and maintaining emotional balance, you raise your standard for how you treat your body and mind. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of elevating your standards is that it forces the world to meet you at your level. When you operate with high expectations for yourself and others, you naturally eliminate anything that does not align with that standard. Low-value relationships fall away. Mediocre opportunities no longer appeal to you. You no longer engage in self-sabotaging behaviors because you know that you deserve better. The moment you raise your standards, your entire reality changes. People begin to treat you differently because they recognize that you are not someone who will settle for less. You start attracting higher quality relationships, better opportunities, and a greater sense of fulfillment. Elevating your standards is not about being demanding or difficult. It is about valuing yourself enough to refuse anything that does not align with the life you want to live. In a world where people constantly seek attention, validation, and connection, learning the power of absence can be one of the greatest ways to raise your value. When you are always available, always present, and always giving your time to others without discretion, people start to take you for granted. They assume that no matter how they treat you, you will always be there. But when you strategically withdraw, when you make yourself less accessible, you create space for people to realize your worth. Many people operate under the false belief that constant presence equals importance. They believe that if they are always around, always responding immediately, always showing up at every event, and always making themselves available, they will be valued more. However, the opposite is often true. When something is always available, it becomes ordinary. But when it is rare or difficult to obtain, it becomes valuable. This is why scarcity creates desire. Think about luxury brands. Why do they hold so much prestige? Because they are not easily accessible to everyone. The same principle applies to human relationships. If you are constantly present and overly eager, people may not appreciate you as much as when you create a sense of absence. When you pull away, whether by taking time for yourself, reducing your availability, or simply stepping back from situations where you feel undervalued, you allow others to feel the space you leave behind. Letting your absence speak for you means that you do not beg for attention, force connections, or overextend yourself to prove your worth. Instead, you allow silence and distance to communicate what words cannot. You let people realize, on their own, the role you played in their lives, and when they do, they often come back with greater appreciation, respect, and effort. This strategy is particularly powerful in relationships. If you are always the one initiating conversations, making plans, or putting in effort while the other person remains passive, they may begin to take your presence for granted. But when you pull back, when you stop initiating, when you stop always being the first to reach out, when you shift your focus to yourself, you force the other person to confront your absence. If they truly value you, they will notice your distance and make an effort to reconnect. If they do not, then you have your answer. They were never truly invested in the first place. Absence also works in friendships. If you find yourself in friendships where you are always the one making the effort, where you are always available but receive little in return, take a step back. Stop overextending. Give people the opportunity to meet you halfway. If they care, they will notice the shift and put in the effort to maintain the relationship. If they don't, then they were never truly invested in your presence. In professional settings, absence can be a powerful tool for gaining respect. If you are constantly at everyone's disposal, saying yes to every request and making yourself too easily accessible, people may begin to undervalue your contributions. But when you set boundaries, when you are selective with your time, and when you make it clear that your presence is earned, not given freely, you command greater respect. People start to recognize your time as valuable, and as a result, they treat you with greater appreciation. Another crucial aspect of letting your absence speak is understanding the power of mystery and unpredictability. People are naturally intrigued by what they cannot fully grasp. When you are always an open book, always predictable, and always available, there is no sense of intrigue. But when you hold back, when you allow some mystery to exist, when you are not always accessible, people become more curious about you. They wonder where you are, what you are doing, and why you are not as readily available as before. This curiosity creates a natural pull toward you. It is important to note that letting your absence speak is not about playing games or manipulating people. It is about self-respect and recognizing that your time and presence are valuable. It is about understanding that constantly giving yourself to others without discretion can lead to being taken for granted. Strategic absence is a way of maintaining your worth, ensuring that those who truly value you will step up in your absence. When you master the art of stepping back, of not always being present, of allowing others to experience life without you for a while, you will see a shift in how you are treated. People will begin to respect your time more, appreciate your presence more, and value your contributions more. They will realize that you are not someone who can be taken lightly, that your presence is a privilege, not an entitlement. Raising your value is not about seeking approval or proving your worth to others. It is about recognizing your own worth and carrying yourself accordingly. When you elevate your standards, respect yourself first, embrace unpredictability, and understand the power of absence, you naturally shift how people perceive and treat you. Remember, true value does not come from being constantly available or chasing validation. It comes from self-assurance, from knowing that you bring something unique to the table. It comes from the confidence to walk away from anything that does not align with your worth. When you stop overextending yourself, stop tolerating less than you deserve, and start demanding more from life, you will notice a change. People will respect you more. They will seek you out rather than you always seeking them. They will feel your absence and cherish your presence. So let them miss you. Let them realize what they have when you are no longer so easily accessible. And most importantly, continue to invest in yourself, because the more you grow, the more your value increases, and the world will have no choice but to recognize it.